Okay, another lesson on ellipsis. I'm just going to give you some examples first and show you that it can function with auxiliary verbs and with to, like to plus infinitive to. And then I'm going to show you something which I've read about, which may not be so useful when you're speaking, but might be useful when you're constructing sentences and checking if it's correct or incorrect. So I'll talk about that in a moment. But firstly, just look at these auxiliary verb examples. He's been drinking and you have too. Of course, been drinking is the ellipsis, yeah? He's been drinking and you have been drinking too. So we could use ellipsis here. You would do it, but I wouldn't do it. Yeah, but we don't need to use it there either. We don't need to repeat do it. And I will help and so will you. So this neither do I, so will you, so will I, so has he. It's also a good example of ellipsis. And you should notice that these are coordinating sentences. We've got a coordinating conjunction here, and so it works very well when you've got two main clauses. In a moment we'll look at what happens when you've got a subordinate and a main clause with this ellipsis, but at the moment we've just got two main clauses here. They both stand on their own, don't they? You would do it, I wouldn't do it. Both of those can stand on their own. They're independent clauses. Now the word to can also be used for ellipsis, which is exactly why you hear so many English people say I want to or I don't want to. Why do they always say that too? Well, it's to say I want to do that, whatever it is you've suggested. Maybe you've suggested going to the park and you say I want to, and it means I want to go to the park. But the to functions like an auxiliary verb. It means that you don't have to include the extra information. So they'll do it if they want to. If they want to do it, that's what's missing here. He can do it, but I'd prefer not to do it. Yeah, this I'd prefer not to is also a good example of ellipsis. Or just, yeah, when you're answering I don't want to or I want to, because you mean the activity which is being spoken about, but you don't need to repeat it. You can just say I want to, I don't want to. Okay, so there. Please remember about those. This is also important in ellipsis too. So here we have 4 different types of ellipsis. All of these are forwards ellipsis. Why do we call them forwards? Because the antecedent precedes the ellipsis. The antecedent is been drinking, and it comes first before the ellipsis. The ellipsis doesn't come first. The antecedent comes first. The same here. You would do it, but I wouldn't. It's forwards. The antecedent precedes the ellipsis. And I'll help and so will you help, yeah? So again, the antecedent precedes the ellipsis. It comes first. It doesn't follow the ellipsis, which would be backwards. And a good example of backwards ellipsis is number 2 down here. Those people who said they could never did take part. And what it means is those people who said they could take part never did take part. But we don't need to include it here. And so here the ellipsis comes first and the antecedent follows it. Actually, it comes later. So that's an example of backwards. Okay, but there's 2 more things to remember with subordinate clauses, subordinate and main clauses. If you've got 2 main clauses, you don't need to worry about upwards and downwards, because they don't go upwards or downwards, because there's just a main clause and a main clause. But if you've got a subordinate and a main clause, sometimes you have the ellipsis in the main clause, and that's like number 1. Those people who said they could take part never did. Okay, now here the ellipsis is in the main clause. They never took part. They never did take part. That's the main clause, and the subordinate clause is here. Those people who said they could take part. So this is an example of forwards and upwards, and it's correct. It's good. Those people who said they could take part never did take part. And it's upwards because the main clause has got the ellipsis. Let's have a look at downwards now, but we're going to look at backwards as well. So you've already seen that this is backwards because the ellipsis precedes the antecedent. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the ellipsis precedes the antecedent and not the opposite way round. And it's downwards because the ellipsis is now in the subordinate clause. Okay? Those people who said they could This is the subordinate clause. So the ellipsis in the subordinate is backwards and downwards. Now we're going to look at forwards and downwards. Those people never did take part who said they could. Okay, now here I hope you can see that the ellipsis is in the subordinate clause, and of course we have the antecedent, take part, coming first, and the ellipsis coming second. So we say forwards and downwards, and that's okay. Yeah, this one's okay. 1, 2 and 3 are all okay. 1's correct, 2's correct, 3's correct. The problem is number 4. When you say those people never did who said they could take part, this is incorrect. You cannot go backwards and upwards. You can't have the ellipsis coming first and in the main clause. That is impossible. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, I don't need to know that, and I'm sure that 99% of you perhaps don't, but it's a rule I've never done before, and I found it quite interesting. It may come in handy when we're thinking about other types of ellipsis, and certainly if you're doing exams which test your knowledge of ellipsis, and again, there are some complex sentence structure exams out there, this might come in handy. So I hope that it's all clear. Please ask questions under the video if you're not sure about anything, and please join me for more lessons on ellipsis soon.